David alluded to, I did grow up in the area. My name is Aaron Jones. I go by Air. I currently fly the F-15E Strike Eagle out of Seymour Johnson Air Force Base in North Carolina. I've been deployed once, and I've been stationed overseas once as well in my 12-year career. So I've got over 1,500 hours flying, roughly 1,600 and some change, most of which is in the Strike Eagle and then the T6A rather, which is the primary trainer for all pilot students that go through the Air Force or the Navy pilot program. First of all, it's amazing. I've never been part of a ROTC unit. I've never been to a ROTC unit. I can't remember the last time I even stepped foot inside of high school. It's amazing to see all you faces in here, and just happy to be here. Most of you guys really from the first part of the class were really into it, really taking pride in what you're doing. Before I go on to transition into my video, it's good to see that. You know what I mean? Somewhere along the lines, and maybe not so much here, but growing up somewhere along the lines, it became uncool to be the smart kid in class. You know what I mean? And what I can't gather from that, having spent some time outside of high school, I hate to use the word nerd, but only in high school is it unacceptable to be or uncool to be a nerd. Once you graduate high school, nerds run the world. Jocks, yep. When they get hurt, who do they go see? Doctors, right? Nerds, right? Jocks, they play for these teams. They make multiple $1 million a year. Who runs the teams? Nerds. All those dudes that went to school and got their MBAs in management and finance, right? Not to mention the people that run their money. Entertainers, same thing. So somewhere along the line, it became uncool to spend those 4 years in high school learning and educating yourself and taking that knowledge outside of high school when people are living to be 70, 80 years old these days. So that 4 years, does it really matter, right? No matter how old you get, you're always going to have haters. People are going to hate you for being smart. The smart kid in class, that's cool. Let them hate. You know what I mean? I got haters to this day. If you're not doing anything right, that means you're not. If you don't have haters, that means you're not doing it right. All right. So I just throw that out there with you right now. Like I said, I felt pride watching you guys this morning or at the beginning of the class doing your thing. So keep it up. I encourage you guys to continue to hone in on that pride as you go through the rest of your ROTC program. What I would like to do before I actually get into why I came here today is kind of show you a video that kind of introduces what I do. All right. It's not unfamiliar that right now we're at war, right? The global war on terrorism is in full swing. We've got folks overseas now that are handling the business, taking care of things while you and I sleep comfortably in our beds at night in an effort to protect some of those freedoms that we hold so near and dear to our heart. So what I want to do is take the time to show a quick, I shouldn't say quick, but a 12-minute video that kind of displays some of the stuff that we've done, what we're currently doing, and how we're handling things, what I get to do on a day-to-day basis, and then I'll go into my story from there. With that being said, if you could kill the canine range, more or less it's just used to kind of show our maintainers, the dudes that work on the jets, fix the jets, load the jets up with ammunition, and do everything that we can do everything that they do so that we can fly. We put that video together to kind of show them what their work is doing, see the fruits of their labor, because they don't get to see it. They load the jets up, they fix the jets, and then we fly 1,000 miles away. Sometimes we break them, sometimes we bring them back, broke jets, and have to fix them again. So that's why we put that video together. It's not necessarily propaganda per se, but I will use it as such. So why am I here? Where did I come from? First of all, I'd like to thank Major Stovall for giving me the opportunity to come out and talk to you guys. And I'm not here to sell you guys on a dream that's mine, that it's not yours, or even convince you to do something that you may not want to do. What I really am here for is to introduce you to an opportunity that you may have not even knew existed or thought that probably wasn't even possible, whatever the case may be. Like he said, I grew up in Howard County. Some of you guys might be thinking, oh, he grew up in Hoco, the silver spoon in his mouth. Far from the truth. My parents split in 1989. We were living in Japan at the time, both of them in the military. My dad brought us back to Maryland because he grew up in Baltimore, and I was just home now. And that's where he, without a job, that was where he was going. So I grew up with, my mom was kind of distant for some years. My dad was a single father working to try and make ends meet. I know what it's like to wait in line with my grandmother for a tin can of peanut butter, a loaf of bread, and some milk. I didn't come from money. All I knew is that there was something that I wanted to do when I was going to grow up, but I just hadn't found it yet. Fast forward some years later, we're visiting my mom. My mother's back in the picture now, and we're spending some time with her. We actually go overseas to where she's stationed in Japan, and that's kind of where things started to unfold for me. Again, didn't have much growing up, but getting over there was a feat in itself. We did what's called Space Aid. Military provides travel. You get to kind of go over there for pennies to the dollar, if you will. It's very, very tricky travel. Nonetheless, we get over there, and I kind of remember the day just like it was yesterday. We're driving on base, and most bases have a runway that the base is built around. The infrastructure is centered around the base. It's an Air Force base. That's what we do. we're driving onto the base and the perimeter road, so you kind of enter the base and the perimeter road kind of goes around both ends of the runway. And we're hitting the run, we hit the perimeter road, we make a left, and just as we hit that left, I remember hearing the roars of F-15C starting up. They took the runway, pushed up the throttles, holding down the brake, and you can just hear the grumble in the engines. Smell the afterburn, smell the fuel, the JP8 just starts to cook off at the tail end of it, if you will. And then all of a sudden, we start hitting the corner, I see the plane taking off, and it's just riding the runway. And from that point on, everything else was just a blur. I just remember sitting there thinking to myself, wow, damn, that's pretty damn dope. And the plane is gunning for us, and we're on a collision course. If the plane does not take off, it's going to hit our van. I remember sitting there in a 1989 Teenage Mutant Turtle style van, sunroof missing, you know, the window doesn't close all the way. We're driving around the runway, and just when I couldn't take it anymore, the plane just takes off and it just does what's called a max performance climb. And to me, at the time, it looked like it was going straight up. And I just remember looking at that thing, I was like, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. That's what I'm gonna do. So ninth grade, I was in the ninth grade. So I'm fortunate because I found my passion earlier. Let me rewind a little bit. What I want to talk to you guys today is about passion. PAR, for my pilot folks in the room, we know that's the type of approach. So passion is what I'm gonna talk to you guys about. I've kind of coined the term with a buddy of mine, passion, PAR, passion, attitude, and responsibility. Attitude, you can also take that into action. So at ninth grade, 16 years old in the ninth grade, if I'm right, 13 years, whatever, how old are you in the ninth grade these days? I don't know, 13, 14? You guys are growing up so quick. No, I'm just kidding. So at 14 years old, I realized what it was that I wanted to do. And I'm fortunate because I was able to build my life around that passion. If you guys haven't figured that out yet, it's not a bad thing per se, but that's kind of what's helped gear me towards being able to find myself in the position that I am today. Fast forward, where I am is not, that didn't come with any obstacles. I don't care who you are in life, what you're gonna do, what you want to accomplish. You're always gonna face some kind of obstacles. All right. My brother committed suicide soon thereafter, so I lost my older brother when I was a freshman in high school. I knew what I wanted to do, so I kind of buckled down in high school. You know, I was always a good student, but it didn't matter to me if people thought that I was that nerd that we talked about earlier, because I knew in order to get to where I wanted to be, I had to put up with what they wanted me to put up with. And so I continued to do so. Keeping in mind, the only thing that separates you from your peers out there, that, you know, some people might relate to having a silver spoon in their mouth, is opportunity, right? So if the opportunity presents itself to you, what are you going to do with that opportunity? Take it. Right? So you have to. So you might fail, so what? You know, there's an awesome quote out there, you know, if you never do anything in life because you're afraid of failing, then you're not living. Because everybody's going to fail at something. It's what you do with that failure, or how you learn from that failure, that's going to make you who you need to be, or who you want to be. So I graduated high school without any issues, all right? Got to college, went to the United States Air Force Academy, graduated class of 2005, went via the prep school route. They decided that my grades, not my grades per se, but my scores just didn't meet their men ran the scores for the SAT. They threw me in the prep school, which wasn't an issue at all. But it was when I got to my freshman year at the academy, I had folks that didn't want me there. One reason or another. I don't know. I'm a people person. I smile a lot, but I still look mean. And to them, that wasn't acceptable. For whatever reason, I still don't know to this day, they wanted me out. And that was my first obstacle that I had to overcome, because I knew what I wanted to do, and there wasn't anybody who was going to keep me from doing that. So again, I had to knuckle down, kind of bite my tongue, and fight through it. I got into a little bit of trouble my freshman year. My father, being in my corner the way he is, kind of talked me into fight through it. I was ready to go. I was like, you know, I don't want to put up with this. But I almost let someone else curtail my dream, right? That's another thing I wanted to talk to you about. Action, attitude, responsibility. Attitude. What's your attitude? Are you going to allow people to hate on you so much they're going to tell you what you can and can't do? That dogma that we talked about, living your life off of somebody else's conversation, somebody else's experiences, or their expectations for you? If you do that, you're never going to get to where you want to be. All right, so keeping that in mind, I stiff-armed that, was able to fight my way through that. Got selected, graduated top 10% of my class as far as military honors go. So I was able to take my skill set and my dream even further, and I got accepted into pilot training. So I spent 6 months down in Moody Air Force Base down in Georgia, learning to fly the T-6, and then got picked up for fighter bomber. However, again, that wasn't due to any conflict or obstacles. My flight commander, when I was down in T6s, didn't want me there, right? Again, I don't know why. I'm a likable kind of guy, you know? However, that being said, he didn't want me there. I feel that if I didn't get a new flight commander at that time and frame, I probably wouldn't be where I am today. Nonetheless, I buckled down, networked, found some folks that were willing to help me out to get through those tough times, and finished number 2 in my class. One 100 percentage point away from finish number 1. So I was able to turn that around, finish number 2, got selected to do what I wanted to do, and that was a fighter bomber track. So I went out to Laughlin Air Force Base, Texas, and flew T-38s, right? So again, you see where this attitude thing is taking me? I could have given up any time. I've had 2 or 3 instances already I could have given up because somebody else wanted me to, or somebody else was giving me trouble, or somebody else was putting up those roadblocks in front of me, right? Chose not to. T-38s came along, and I decided to stick it out. Again, there's some distractions that were self-induced, so it's not always somebody else trying to hold you back. Sometimes you're your own worst enemy, right? So if you can't fight those battles within, you know, then how can you expect to fight the external battles, right? So some of my own self-induced distractions. An old African proverb says if we can get rid of those enemies within, there's no way the enemy outside can distract us or hurt us. So I had to fight that out, fight through that. But again, with a strong corner, I was able to make it through. And fast forward through that, taking that responsibility to make things happen. As it was, I finished T-38s and got picked up for what's called a first assignment instructor pilot. So I went from being a student one day to the next day I was an instructor on the other side of the table. I did that for 3 years, and that's where I spent most of my time and got most of my experience as far as airmanship is concerned and flying the jet. Did that for 3.5 years, and then I got selected to fly the F-15E Strike Eagle, and I've been doing that for 6 years, ever since 2010. Spent 3 years in England, deployed once down in Southwest Asia, and did a couple of combat missions down there, and now we're stationed here overseas, and looking forward to continuing that, and just trying to motivate folks like you to go out there and see that there's other things that are possible as long as you knuckle down and do what you need to do to build your life around education. I don't care how old you are, how old you get, there's always going to be something new to learn, something to expound upon, something that you need to build up in order to get to where you want to be. So have that goal, find that passion. Like I said, it might not be flying for you. I saw some of you guys in here that were really into that video. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But whatever your passion is, you have to chase that. You have to find it, and you have to take the necessary action, have the right attitude, and be responsible for what it is that you want to do. All right. So, like I said, I don't want to take too much of you guys' time with me talking. The video does a lot of its own. Real quick, just to kind of give you some experience of what we do. This is our harness that straps us into the jet and our parachute. This is our G suit. This is what allows us to not pass out when we're flying 500 feet, 500 knots to the ground. This is our helmet. Kind of what we put on is you know, it does what a helmet does. You know what I mean? It holds a lot of our gear to our face. It's missing the mask right now, which provides our oxygen while we're breathing, and our mic so that we can communicate. And then the infamous question, the $1 million question. That's our bathroom.
Stop playing.
So that's kind of what it is for you guys. You know, that's my spiel. That's what I'm talking about. That's my story. All right. So real quick, you know, you guys got about 30 minutes left. What questions do you guys have for me? Do we have anybody that's interested in being a pilot in the room yet? All right. Couple hands. Sweet.
Okay. So. I saw that there's two pilots in the F-15. One flies and the other controls the armors, right?
Yep, that's correct. So the F-15E is a dual role, it's a multi-role dual seat fighter. So twin tail, twin engine, twin seat plane, right? So the front seat is the pilot. We're responsible for putting the jet where it needs to be, so that the WISO, who is a weapons system officer in the back seat, can put the bombs on target. So we got LGB laser guided bombs. We've got JDAM, Joint Direct Attack munitions, which are GPS and INS aided munitions. And then we got just what you call dumb bombs. They just kind of, once you throw them out the window, they're going to go where they go, if you will.
Do they also control the cannon, or is that you too?
No, the pilot controls the 20 millimeter gun. So we carry 500 rounds of 20 millimeter. We carry 500 class weapons. 500-pound class weapons, which are your Mark 82s, bomb bodies, and then we can carry your 2,000-pound class weapons, which are your Mark 84 bomb bodies. And then the bomb bodies, what's built is the the central point for the munition. So depending on what tail kit or nose cone you put on it, turns it into a smart bomb or LGB. So, but yeah, the Wizzo, that's his job. He's not a pilot per se. Dare call him a navigator, if you will, but that they go through nav training and then they branch off and do their combat systems officer training. And then once they go through that, they'll become a Wizzo specifically to the Strike Eagle. The B-52 and the B-1 also have Wizzos on there. Sweet. What other questions you guys got? Yes, ma'am. I did. So I graduated in 2000 and I got selected for the Air Force Academy, which is a full-up 4-year institution. I think Stokes is still around here. I don't know if he did or not, but he was here last year. One of your students last year got picked up for West Point. So each branch has their own military academy, if you will, and it's equivalent to going to an Ivy League school, but it's completely paid for, and they give you money. There's some things you got to put up with while you're there, lack of free, some things that you don't get to use like you were if you were at a normal college or institution, but the education is paid for, some of your clothes are paid for, they give you money, a stipend every month, room and board, and all the things that come along with that. So completely paid for, and everything that comes along. But you do incur a commitment with the military. So the short answer to your question is yes, I did go to school. It's a 4-year military institution, but it fed me right into the Air Force when I was done. What was the question? How hard is it to get into the Air Force Academy? So there's obviously they have standards that are set, and as long as you meet those minimum requirements, they're looking for a well-rounded individual. Right? So I mean, if you've got a 4.0 average, 1600 on the SATs, but you're not really out in the community doing much, you still might miss out on somebody that's got a 3.5, but they're the team captain of their basketball team. You know, they volunteer every weekend, things like that. You know, someone who scored a 1400. So they're looking for that well-rounded individual. There are minimums out there. I know the majors got access to that information as far as what you need to be able to apply, because if you don't even meet those minimums, typically they won't even let you apply, but you can still, you know, do it if you want to. So there are those minimums that you have to have. That being said, if you ever find yourself in a position where somebody's telling you that you don't meet the minimums, don't even apply, you never know what's going to happen. That just happened to me for a special assignment that I put in for. I'm waiting for the results to come out now. Actually, they're supposed to release them today, but dudes told me, like, dude, you're too old. I missed the cutoff by 6 months. I didn't have the number of fighter hours total. I had the total number of hours, but not fighter hours. So they were like, dude, you can't even apply. And I was like, all right, watch me. So I applied, and they still recognized my application. Now, whether or not I get picked up or not, something different. But at the same time, like, I'm still going to do it. I'm still going to try it. You know, you have to tell me no before we don't want you before no, you can't apply. There's a difference. You know what I mean? So just because the minimums are out there, those are the deter people that don't want it. You know what I mean? If I take you to 3.0, you got 2.99. Are you going to apply? I would. You know what I mean? So it just depends on how you look at life. You know, you can take it, oh, someone's telling me no, and just go away, or you can be like, okay, I see you no, and I raise you my application anyways. So unless they charge you $150, it might be different. What other questions?
How fast are the jets?
So that's a tricky question because they're always rated faster than what they really are. Our jet's rated up to 2 Mach, so it's 20 miles a minute. Not happening. The fastest I've been is about 1.2 Mach, which is 12 miles per minute, around 45,000 feet or so. The best time that you'll have, though, flying our jet, if you will, we're meant to go low air to ground. So we fly low. We were just out in Vegas not too long ago, flying around 500 feet, 0.95 Mach, so roughly 580 knots or so, about 9.5 miles per minute. And when you're that low to the ground, trees and stuff just zooming by you like it's a rush. There's no other feeling like it. It's like going down a highway at 130 miles an hour. You know, you got cars zipping by you, not legal, but what we were doing is legal. That's what we were allowed to do. But yeah, so about 10 miles a minute is what we can get up to on a regular basis.
What do you do on a day-to-day basis?
Good question. On a day-to-day basis, we typically try to fly about 3 to 4 times a week. That includes our simulators. So we'll do, no kidding, full-up sims. They're worth multiple $1 million. It's a 360-degree panoramic view. The sim itself doesn't move, like the seat, it doesn't move or vibrate, but the bits do. So the video that's encompassing, it's a full-up video game, if you will, a simulator. So we do that and fly about 3 to 5 times a week. If we're not flying, then we all have additional duties. So I'm an assistant director of operations. So you got our commander, right? You got the squadron commander, then you got the director of operations underneath him. I'm his assistant, so I do different things that he needs to do. Right now I'm in charge of manning, so I make sure that our 70-man squadron, we always have the right ratio of folks to be in the squadron. It just depends what your additional duty is. It's anything from training to scheduling to PT to whatever you name it. We've got people to do it. So we're roughly 8 to 12 hour days, depends on what your day looks like. But, yes, ma'am. How long have I been in the Air Force? I've been in the Air Force for 11 years now. So I commissioned in 2005, and June will be my 11th year anniversary, if you will.
Oh, that's a little.
You live on base?
I don't. We live 30 minutes away from base. You don't have to live on base. Most people choose not to. There are certain conveniences that come along with being on base, i.e. it's only a 3-minute drive to work. However, that being said, you never really get away from work neither, you know what I mean? Because it's right down the street. So I would never want to.
What's your yearly salary?
So that's actually a good question. You know, and honestly, that's a valid question because a lot of people want to know, hey, how much I'm gonna get paid for that? Well, first of all, my salary is not a secret. Any government official, you can go online and look us up online exactly how much we get paid. Now, what is kind of tricky to put together is actually what all the bonuses entail, right? So as a pilot or an air crew, we get what's called a flight bonus, and right now that's an additional $650 a month versus your finance officer who doesn't get flight pay, right? So if you were looking for an incentive to go be an air crew or be a pilot, there you go. Right now, I think when I just did my taxes, I clocked in about 82 grand last year base pay. With you start looking at bonuses and insurance, you know, medical insurance that I don't have to pay for, it's 100, 110. It's well over 6 figures. So, and I just got that didn't take into consideration the promotion I just got back in October. So this year it'll probably be closer to what, 90, 95? We were maybe 95 base pay. You calculate in the bonuses and stuff like that, you're looking at about 130, 140. So 4 years in high school looking worth it now, right? Yeah, right. I saw another hand up right here.
So what age can you join, like, to fly?
So you can actually start flying, I think it's around 13, right? But you can't get
the student license is at 15 and your private license at 16.
But you can start flying before that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you can start flying. I mean, the younger the better, you know, as far as building those habit patterns, getting that airmanship up. You know, the more you do something, the easier it becomes, right? So it's about building those habit patterns earlier rather than later. As far as getting into the Air Force to fly, you have to have a 4-year degree. You have to go to school and get that 4-year degree. I chose to go the military route, so they paid for me to go to school. I went to the Air Force Academy, direct feeder into the Air Force. Some people do ROTC, so they'll go to Bowie State. One of my buddies in the video went to Bowie State, commissioned out of Bowie State through the ROTC program. Some people go to Howard University, don't even do a ROTC program, get picked up, go down to Maxwell Air Force Base, do a 90-day spin up, and now they're commissioned. So it depends on what you're looking for. Some roles are easier than others to get a pilot slot. Some of them it's a gamble. So it depends on what you want. Someone like you, I'd probably either look at the academy or a ROTC program. That's the best way to increase your chances of doing it. Huh? I went to Long Reach. You went to Hammond? Yeah, okay. I got real good friends that went there. My cousin went to Hammond, so I'm all about Hammond. That's a tricky question because it depends on what's going on. There's certain mission sets that we fly, like for instance, when we were at a Razor Flag, Las Vegas doing Red Flag, I mean, it's like, no kidding, a small war exercise. So we bring in airframes from all over the United States, from England, Italy. We had Italian jets out there, the Turks were out there, the Italians were out there, and we'll put together a no kidding scenario where we're fighting the bad guys, and we've got 80 jets airborne, you know, throwing missiles back and forth at each other, dropping bombs. A day like that will go anywhere between 12 to 16 hours. But when most of it's engaged in doing something like briefing, flying, and debriefing. But on a day when you're not working or you're not flying, rather, I mean, it could be as little as 6 hours, 4 hours. I've had days where the commander's like, if you're not on a schedule to do anything tomorrow, don't even come in. So it really just depends on what you got going on. On average, it'll balance itself out to be about an 8 to 10 hour day. So it's normal business hours, you know, with a lunch in there too.
Did you guys ever flew to Syria, Iraq, or any other countries?
So we're obviously operating in those areas now because that's where ISIS is focused on right now. But how we're doing it, what we're doing, you know, obviously we're talking on a level where we can't discuss that in here. But short answer to your question is we are flying in Southwest Asia, taking the fight to ISIS.
What's in the G suit that prevents you from passing out?
So the G suit plugs into the jet with this hose right here, and the jet pumps bleed air into it only when you're pulling G. So it's an intricate system in the sense that the jet recognizes when you're loading the jet, and it'll fill up your G suit so that it actually compresses against your muscles and forces you to strain to prevent the blood from pooling in your body. So does anybody know what a G is? We're sitting right now at 1 G, right? What's a G?
It's force field.
Right. So how much is it? Do you know?
It's about like
32 point something.
Both of you guys are wrong, but nice try. 9.82 meters per second squared, right? So we're all sitting at 1 G right now. Our jet can pull up to 9 Gs before we start breaking stuff. So when you're pulling 9 Gs, imagine a 100-pound human. Right now we're 100 pounds, right? You take those 9 Gs and you multiply it by 9. So now essentially you're pulling 900 pounds of weight around, right? So if you don't do that, what happens is the blood is forced out of your brain and starts to pool in your lower extremities. So because we're sitting down, it'll pool in our butt and your calf muscles. Eventually what happens is you lose enough blood. Anybody been blood choked before? Like the blood that they prevent blood from flowing in your brain, you'll pass out. Well, the last thing you want to be doing is passing out at 500 feet, 500 knots. You're probably going to impact the ground, and it's not going to be a good day for anybody. So what they do is everybody has a resting G tolerance. So right now, sitting down, you could get however many Gs and not have to worry about G straining or even passing out. My resting G tolerance is right around 5 Gs. Around 5 Gs is when I start to see that fading out. You know what I mean? So that's when I incorporate the G suit, which it gives me an additional G, a G to G and a half, just doing nothing. So with my G suit on and my resting G tolerance, I can technically take up to 6.5 Gs before I have to start straining and worry about that blood pulling out of my brain. Put the G suit on, it forces my stomach to contract, my muscles contract. I do what's called an anti-G straining maneuver, control my breathing, so now I can fly around under Gs without having to worry about passing out. In our jet, it's not as critical as it is, say, flying the F-16 where they pull 9 Gs and can sustain it for, you know, X number of degrees. So,
have you ever flown with other squadrons? Like with, do they still use the F-14D?
not in the Air Force, no. And actually, I don't think the Navy uses it anymore either. So obviously, we're moving away from specifically 3rd gen aircraft, right? More into 4.5 generation fighters to what's called 5th generation fighters, which are F-22 Raptors, your stealth technology, your F-35s, which are still coming on board, kind of, right? That's what we're going towards, and a lot of people will be moving towards that stealth technology. So we're pushing away from some of the older stuff, moving towards the newer Gucci stuff, if you will, with full glass cockpits, and missiles that can reach out and touch somebody, things like that. So. Good question. I mean, the B-52 and the KC-135 are the oldest planes in the inventory, and they're still full up. And we got 1960s, 1970s airframes rolling around with this updated technology. You know, good question though.
Aren't you also afraid, like when the plane flips over, that you're gonna fall right out of it?
Nope. Because whenever you're rotating like that, unless you purposely bunt over, you're gonna stay strapped down to your seat. You won't float at all. So it's a centripetal force. Stays within the circle, so the forces are still pushing you into your seat. So I love it though. Roller coasters are nothing these days. Yep. So there are ROTC scholarships, and there's different levels of ROTC scholarships depending on what you're going for when you get picked up, and whether it's a full ride, partial, whatever the case may be. So there's definitely things that are. There's definitely money available for the ROTC scholarships. The specifics behind them, obviously, I have to put you in touch with a Go Bar recruiter. Again, I have one that's down in North Carolina that I can pass along to the major, and he can help you out with that as well. But that's definitely an option as well.
Before you start flying, don't you take a simulator where you testify what the D-force is?
Yeah. So the centrifuge is our G training machine. So before you fly any high performance aircraft, which is typically a fighter, you'll have to go out to one of our centrifuges and they'll run you through a profile where they increase and decrease the amount of G's. That's really just how fast they spin it, increases the amount of G's that you feel. And that's to teach you, one, how to do your AGSM, and two, to test your resting G tolerance and kind of introduce you and focus on that the AGSM, the G strain, to kind of teach you how to fly under pressure.
So do you know any pilots that can hit like 8 or 8.5 before?
So most airframes, the C model, F-15C and F-16, they have to sustain a 9G profile. The F-16 is the hardest G profile that you can have in the centrifuge, and they take them all up to 9Gs for like 7 seconds or something like that. And they have to stay awake the whole time. If they pass out, they have to start all over. You essentially fail it. And if you do that, I think it's 2 or 3 times in the same day, they kick you out. You have to come back 2 or 3 weeks later after you've done some kind of training program to get your physical fitness back up to being able to sustain that. So it can be pretty intense. It's not for the timid or weak at heart because it is a lot of force. I mean, that's the one thing we have to worry about every single year is people putting the jets into the dirt because they pass out and they G-lock while they're, or G-induced loss of consciousness, they G-lock while they're flying. So, not to scare you away from it. I mean, it happens just like people driving down the street and they fall asleep at the wheel, right? That happens more common than people passing out in the plane because you're actually paying attention to what you're doing. But it does happen, and that's because we've significantly reduced that hazard by teaching people how to perform G-strain effectively.
Has there been any fighter crashes?
I don't know. I don't think so. I'm not sure. Not in the Air Force for sure. I work in the safety office back at the wing, so we see things like that all the time. I haven't seen. I don't recall any. I mean, we're only in the March, so knock on wood, but not yet.
How do you manage your personal life with like your work experience?
So that's actually a really good question, and it's so much so that the military actually focuses on family advocacy and readiness programs to kind of help prevent the military life from taking away the attractiveness in the personal life. So my wife is a domestic engineer. She's a stay-at-home mother, and she knows that I'm in it. You know, she knows and appreciates what I do at work, and so the balance just comes from having an understanding spouse. And then when I go away from work, I go away from work. Like when we're on vacation, I leave work at work, and I enjoy our vacation, and I spend time with the family. So if it gets really bad, then we'll have we'll take a day off, or not even a day, but like I'll come home and it's like nothing but put the kids to bed early, put on a movie, Netflix and chill kind of a deal. You know what I mean? So it is. I am married, but she's very understanding. She knows what I want to do. She knows this is one of my passions coming out here. She's actually hanging out at my dad's house right now with the kids, and we're gonna go up to New York this weekend. So it's got Brooklyn.
Interruption at the time. Anyone parked in the bus lot, please remove your vehicles immediately. We have buses pulling in for dismissal. Repeat, any teachers, staff, anyone parked in the bus lot, please remove your vehicles immediately.
So have I had to do that?
Pulling in for dismissal staff. Thank you.
So the question was, has there been an emergency where I've been recalled to work? When I was stationed in England, we had a couple of those where they recalled us and we had to set up, not pretend, actually it was real life recall. And it more sense is just posturing, right? So it's not that we went to war at that point in time, but it was posturing in a sense that we're setting ourselves up so that if we do have to go, my shoes are already tied, my uniform's already on, versus waking up in the morning, I have to put my shoes on, put my uniform on, kind of a deal, you know what I mean? So if I'm ready to go, I don't have to get ready. And that's kind of what posturing means, right? So they'll call us back to work, they'll set up the game plan, they'll get us ready to go, they'll put the crews together, they'll send some of us home, they'll keep some of us at work, and then we just rotate shifts. So I've never been launched to war from there, but I mean, it happens all the time, if you will, so dudes are ready to go.
Do you have the options of locating to a new base if you wanted to?
So, the military is kind of one of those things. That's another thing I want to talk to you guys about too. You can control your destiny in the military by being the best at your job. That's like anything in the world, right? If you're number one at your job, you can kind of dictate what happens. Same thing in the military, right? If you're number one at your job, you kind of dictate where you can go. And everybody else kind of falls in line. Now, sometimes it happens that even if you're not number one, you get what you want, but most of the time it doesn't. So you can say, hey, I would like to go here, but if you're not number one or you're not, up at the top, then it's probably not going to happen. But it can. You can always say, hey, I've got certain circumstances that kind of dictate that I should be here. And nowadays they're doing a better job of taking that into consideration, but it's not always the case. When you sign a line, you're working for the military. You're ready to do and go wherever they want you to go. So short answer is not all the time, but you can kind of say, hey, this is what I would like to do, and they'll take it into consideration.
Did you have to go into the gas chamber?
I did do that, yep. It's the absolutely best / worst / I would never do it again.
Why not?
It's like somebody choking you with cayenne pepper and snot bubbles coming all over. I mean, yeah, that stuff coming out of my ears. I didn't even know that was possible.
How long were you in?
So we walked in and took our mask off, and they said, say your social security number, and I got through like the second digit of my social before, before stuff started coming out of all orifices in my face. I mean, literally, like I stuff coming out of my eyes, my nose. It's terrible. But it's for training. So now I understand what it's like. So now I know the importance of keeping my gas mask on if we ever have to go through mop level conditions, right? So I know why it's probably a good idea to keep my mask on. It's survivable. It's not gonna kill you. Maybe. What else? Yes, sir. So when we're downrange in a hostile environment, we do carry pistols on us. However, right now in a peacetime situation, the only people on base that carry guns are federal agents. We do have Air Force, FBI, Office of Special Investigation, OSIs on base. They carry weapons, and then there's your police officers on base carry weapons. Other than that, nobody else is allowed to. So, not a bad question, but right now in the States, we're not allowed to. They are working on trying to get a bill passed that will allow concealed carry members the ability to carry on base. However, I don't see that getting passed anytime soon. Look at her and what she say.
In the Air Force, do you have to go overseas?
You don't have to, no. Most people do. It's an experience. When we were living overseas, we lived in England for 3 years, and we saw about 13, 14 different countries. My family went with me, yeah. So, we were practically in Germany every other weekend, and down the Mediterranean, Spain, Denmark, you name it, we went there. Mostly Western Europe. We did go to Eastern Europe a little bit, but I would encourage you to do it if you decide to go in the military. Overseas is not that bad.
Isn't all materials heavy for you? Like, you can't carry some of it?
What's that?
Material.
Obviously, as far as flying goes, we don't, because our cockpit is so small, we don't carry a lot of stuff out to the jet with us. We carry the bare essentials. So it's going to get us to and from the base, or from takeoff to landing. Other than that, we don't carry a lot of the equipment. This stuff right here is the whole get-up probably weighs about 70 pounds once you put it all on. It's not that bad. You can carry it out to the jet, and then once you strap it in and sit down, it takes some of the weight off. We'll take snacks, granola bars, Snickers bars, things like that. We're obviously not going to open up a full-up kitchen and buffet. I've packed sandwiches on long flights. The biggest thing for me is because I got a bladder the size of a 2-year-old, is making sure that I have a lot of those packages with me. Yeah. How do you apply this? All right. So. It's the $1 million question, man. Everybody wants to know how it happens. So everybody knows what a diaper is, right? Babies wear diapers. The stuff that's in here is the same thing that's in a diaper. You take it out, you open it, you put it on autopilot or give the jet to the Wizzo, let them fly it, you take care of business. You pee in this thing and you seal it up and hope that it doesn't pop or punctured on the way before the stuff in here, it turns it into a gel-like substance. So the goal is for it to harden before that happens. However, there have been instances where it might have spilled out a little bit before you actually get to the ground. That's why you wear gloves when you're flying. That's fine. You know? It comes with a wipe in here too, so you can wipe your hands down. I actually carry hand sanitizer in my uniform, so I feel cleaner already. You know what I mean? So trust me, all the shit, all the dirt and the grease, oil, stuff that's on that jet, piss is the last thing you're worried about. How easy is it to travel? It depends on where you're going. Anytime you got leave, so you get your vacation days, you can travel. You can go just about anywhere your flight command will let you. When you're overseas, it's super easy. I mean, you got Ryanair, which is like AirTran. I mean, it's a $60 flight to go from England to Spain, you know, or Ireland, or whatever the case is. So it's pretty easy. It's all about getting used to the system and learning the ins and outs of doing it. The G suit. So it goes, it's got zippers and buttons on it. This one is for display only, it's a training aid. So you just put it around your waist like this. And it's not, this is not mine, so it's a little tight. And then you button it down, you zip it up, and then you, same thing for your legs. And it's supposed to be tight because when the bladder inflates, it's supposed to push against you. And you're supposed to push back against it with your muscles. So you're supposed to constrict your muscles and start your G training. So just like this, you plug it into the system with this hose, and then that's how it gets the air out of it, into it. What's up, man? The harness, same thing, you just flip it over like a jacket. This is another display aid, this is training. But yeah, so what happens is you got coke fittings up here that attached to the jet, so your parachute is actually in the seat. So you put this on, you'll strap it up. I'm not going to do these pieces, but you can imagine somebody sitting into like a parachute harness. It's attached to the jet. If you ever have to eject, the jet launches the seat out, and then you get man seat separation about 3 seconds later, and then your parachute soon to follow. And then this is what attaches you to the parachute. You also have a seat kit that's attached to it as well. It's got some of your basic necessities, some water, some needle and thread, life raft, things like that that'll help you survive for X number of hours until spec ops is going to get you. Hopefully it's just a couple hours.
All right, here we go, listen up. We're going to bring this to a close, but what I want to do is if any of you have any individual questions, want to take a look at the G suit, the helmet, or the parachute harness, you can come up and do so. But before we do that, a couple ground rules. Do not leave the room until the bell rings. If you have no questions, remain seated.
Two things. First of all, like I said, right. So there's more to it than just this equipment. You actually got the harness, and it's missing the parachute fittings that we talked about, right? So you strap this on. Yep, exactly right. This is for your oxygen piece. So you get your oxygen from the jet. The jet has its own EC environmental control system that produces the oxygen, and it plugs into here. And your mask, which this is just the helmet piece. The mask is actually the piece that sits on your face, right? Okay, sweet. So you kind of know what I'm talking about then. So that has your mic on it, and your breathing apparatus connects to your Crew 60, which sits here, and then this Crew 60 connects to the jet. It is exactly right. It's like a hose that runs down to your mask, if you will, from the mask to the Crew 60. So that's this. And then on the back of it, actually this piece still has it. You still have your beacon in here too. So like if you eject, this thing has a beacon in it, so that it'll actually alert on guard, which is 243 or 120, 1.5, if I'm not mistaken. It alerts people out there that you've ejected and that you need assistance. Your G suit, again, it goes around your waist and down on your legs. This is an older model. They've got newer model G suits that kind of are a little bit more full body, a little bit more encompassing. But right now, this just kind of it goes on your waist like this, and then it straps down on your legs. Yeah, exactly right. So this zipper's broken. This one. So your leg goes in there. You can zip it around your leg, zip it up, and it connects into the jet and allows the jet to bleed air to kind of help.